yes. I can tell from your exotic dress. Well, never mind that. We Persians, we're famous for our hospitality to foreign guests. So, if you do me the honor, I will be your guide for the next half hour. You're about to hear the songs to the story of Esther, a young queen who foils the heinous plot of an arrogant villain, risking her very life to stop the planned slaughter of her people. The events take place some 2,500 years ago, but its themes of love, jealousy, obligations to one's family and one's people, the evil of prejudice, and the struggle to protect an endangered people. They're universal, and in my opinion, speak to everyone. Now let me introduce the main characters of our show.
Long ago in a distant land, in a capital named Shushan.
In the first scene, the king orders his queen to dance before his guests, then dismisses her when she refuses. But the king soon becomes lonely, and his advisors convince him to summon all the beautiful maidens to the palace.
Cousin, do you really think the king could choose a young woman like me?
Esther agrees to go to the palace. Before leaving, Mordecai warns her not to tell anyone about her background, because many in the kingdom hate her people for believing in just one God. So Esther goes to the palace, and following the advice of the attendants assigned to her, wins the king's heart. At first glance, the king falls madly in love with her. Soon after the king announces Esther's selection as queen, he also elevates Haman to become his chief advisor. Now Haman is very clever, but his arrogance is much greater. Indeed, almost everyone bows to Haman. Everyone except Esther's guardian, Mordecai. Because of his faith, he can only bow to God, and out of necessity, the king. When Esther's attendants question Mordecai, he shows them the decree and begs that the queen intervene, warning that she too will not escape. To act, however, Esther must risk her life.
If I go before the king unannounced, and he refuses to see me, I could die.
Esther sends a message, asking the Jews of Shushan to join her and her maidens in a 3-day fast, after which she will risk going before the king. Act 2 begins with Esther, mindful of what happened to the previous queen, appearing before the king in fear. After a moment's hesitation, the king extends his scepter to her, offering her anything she wanted in a song, especially for you. Esther thanks the king for his kindness, but asks only that the king and Haman attended a party that night, and of course both agreed. That night the king cannot sleep, and he learns that nothing had been done to honor Mordecai, who had earlier saved him from being poisoned. Haman requests an audience to ask permission to hang Mordecai, but the king interrupts him to ask what should be done for someone the king wishes to honor. Haman thinks that the king means him, and he presents his idea in the song, "The One the King Honors." The king proceeds to order Haman to carry out his plan for Mordecai, and an enraged Haman leads Mordecai through the streets of Shushan. Haman has little time to be furious, however, because he must return to the palace for Esther's party. When the king once more asks Esther what she would like, this time she begs the king to spare her life. The king, astonished, asks who would threaten her, and Esther points to Haman. The king storms off in rage, and a petrified Haman pleads for his life. As the guards drag him off, the cast reaches its own verdict in the song, "Let Him Hang." Haman may have received his just reward, but the king must now undo the decree against the Jews.
For this, Esther's guardian Mordecai is summoned. Mordecai advises the king to issue a new decree, allowing the Jews to defend themselves. And after doing so, the king appoints him his new chief advisor. On the day of their destruction, the Jews prevail over their opponents, aided by the king's governors. The king, accompanied by Esther, then orders a celebration. Mordecai turns to Esther to say that it was her courage that made all this possible. Esther responds by singing the refrain from her song, My Moment.